Hello and welcome to State of the Union. I'm Stefan Grobe in Brussels. Farming policy has long been a sensitive issue in the European Union, and farmers have a track record of disruptive protests, especially in France, the EU's biggest agricultural producer. This week, following similar protests in countries from Germany to Romania, it was up to their French colleagues to hit the barricades, or rather build barricades. The protests were over a series of long-standing grievances, including low pay, new environmental regulations, and rising energy costs. All this, the farmers say, is putting heavy pressure on their business. The political class was taken rather by surprise, and the reactions were accordingly, that is, cautious and non-committal.
We are hearing very carefully farmers' voice, and I can declare that we will take into account this voice in our work. We need the approach based on the forest principle: security, stability, sustainability and solidarity, and it should be included into the future common agricultural policy.
The farmers' protests across Europe sparked a surge in popularity towards right-wing populist parties who were only too eager to jump on the bandwagon. This will certainly set up agricultural policy as one of the main topics of the European election campaign. An election, many experts believe, that will face challenges from hostile foreign interference, hybrid threats, and especially disinformation. When defending democracy, according to the EU Commission, fighting disinformation is of the utmost importance.
Uncheck malicious contents spreads like a cancer and puts the health of a democracy at risk. Liberal democracies cannot live without information, without reliable information, and without trust in democratic processes.
A remarkable statement. It should be self-evident, but in the trying times we're living in, it can't be repeated enough. I'm sure Daphne Caruana Galizia would have agreed. A fearless journalist from Malta, she was assassinated more than 6 years ago for exposing corruption, nepotism, patronage and money laundering. This week, the European Parliament honored her legacy. Carrying on the torch is her son Paul, who recently published A Death in Malta, a book about his mother and her fight for democracy. Maria Psara caught up with him.
You're here again at the European Parliament 6 years after the assassination of your mother, and you have written a book. What is it about?
I wrote the book because after 6 years in which my family has been in and out of court and campaigning here in Brussels, Strasbourg and of course Malta, because I began to feel her murder was becoming bigger than her life. And she was getting lost in all the stories of her murder. And I wanted to set down what she was really like as a person, as a human being.
If I'm not wrong, the title of the book is about justice. Have you found justice for your mother?
Over the past 6 years, we've seen progress in the criminal proceedings. So the 3 hitmen who are charged with executing her have all pleaded guilty and are now serving time in prison. A middleman confessed to his role and received a pardon in exchange for evidence on the man who is accused of commissioning the murder. That man was arrested in 2019 and we're waiting for the jury trial of his role in the murder. But there are a number of other people who were involved in the attempted cover-up of her murder who have yet to be charged. And for us it's also important that all the people she wrote about, all the corruption she exposed, all those stories are prosecuted, and we haven't seen anything of that yet.
I would like to ask you about the strategic lawsuits against your mother. There were more than 40 lawsuits against your mother. What has happened with them?
At the time of her death, she was facing 47 libel suits. 5 of those were criminal libel, so Malta had criminal libel up until a few months after she was killed. And under Maltese law, those libel suits have passed on to us as her heirs, the owners of her estate. So we've spent the years since her murder defending against those libel claims. Most were filed by members of the governing Labour Party and its donors. Now, we didn't see it at the time, I'm embarrassed to say, but if we look back, you can see that there was this escalating legal harassment against her. So a big part of our campaign has been to address that, address how the courts are used and abused, not to seek justice or not to right wrongs, but to harass journalists in our case.
Polka Rana Galicia there, interviewed by Maria Psara. Before we go, a story from the city of Vienna. The authorities issued an urgent warning not to go on the frozen waters of the Danube River. And here's what happened. To say that people were unconcerned is an understatement. After days of temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius, the temptation was just too big. People took to the ice, playing ice hockey, ice skating, or even sledging. Some brought their own chair to enjoy a beautiful winter day, to the horror of the fire brigade, who voiced their deep misunderstanding. Well, the fun will be over soon, as temperatures have warmed this week, which means there is a natural solution for everything. That's it for this edition. I'm Stefan Grobe. Thank you for watching. Have an excellent week.